If you're tired of not making progress and you're ready to be the artist you know you're meant to be, you're in the right place. You're listening to the Singer's Path podcast. The Path, or Performing Artists Training Hub, will cover everything, including singing tips that actually work, advice from top industry professionals, and life-changing mindset shifts. Out with the starving artist and in with the thriving artist. I'm your host, Sarah Bishop, professional singer, actor, educator, and entrepreneur. I'm not afraid to speak the truth and stop the gatekeeping of quality information so you can actually become the artist you dream of being. So let's get on the path, shall we? Even though we're all on our own journeys, it always helps to have a guide. Hello. Welcome back to the Singer's Path podcast. It's me, your host, Sarah Bishop. And today we're doing the podcast in a very different setting. I am actually in Central America right now, in Costa Rica. And I have my mic propped up on my belly. I'm on a bed with a mosquito net around me because I'm not about to get the Zika. And so hopefully it doesn't affect the sound quality too badly because it's raining outside because we are in the jungle. Sometimes I'll just lose power out of nowhere. I'm supposed to teach 2 group classes this week and have some clients that I'm still teaching. I will get to the reason why I'm here in a second. That's less important than the fact that I keep losing Wi-Fi. So, that is what's happening. That's why if you hear little raindrops, we're going to go with an ASMR vibe and not in the way where, and I quote from my audio engineer, Amanda, "It sounded like we were inside of your mouth, Sarah," because, guess this, I was holding the microphone too close to my face. So that's why it sounded like you were inside my mouth. And for that, I sorry. That was my first I sorry of the week. So now there's a little I sorry for the rain, but actually I don't really give a fuck because like rain sounds are cool. What I will say is if there's a random like right in the microphone because there's a freaking bird that perches right outside the window. There are screens on the windows. Like there's not even walls that go all the way up. Like the top of the room is just like wood panels with screens on it. So like quite literally I'll be sleeping and in like 3 or 4 in the morning when the freaking birds wake up, they'll like perch around the side of the house and freaking caw inside the house and it violently wakes me up. So that I'm setting the scene and that's where we are. There are citronella candles burning around the room. There are still mosquitoes flying around me even though I'm in a net. It's fine. So that's where we're at. Now you're like, Sarah, why are you in Costa Rica? Well, one of my good friends and clients at one point, and now we're just, I think, friends at this point, and we actually work together quite a lot. Her name's Jessie Marino. She owns a business, and she does a ton of retreats down in Costa Rica, and she actually, I think it was like close to COVID, actually came down here and ended up moving down here, and she met her husband down here, and her husband has a bunch of land. So her husband and her now are building a retreat center, and they're hosting an arts festival down here to help to raise money for the building of the retreat center and also to support local artists in the community. So it's a good old time, and that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here, because I'm supporting them and helping out and teaching. And yeah. So and you're probably like, what are you teaching down here? Well, it's called Claiming Your Voice, and we're going to kind of talk about it here today as I'm getting ready and warmed up to practice for said class. We're going to talk a little bit about some themes that I tend to discuss in these classes when I'm traveling and teaching about the voice. Because let's be so for real, okay? If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably a singer or you like really fucking love singing, okay? Most people don't know or care that much about singing. They're the kind of people that are like, oh my God, you're a singer. And then they like want you to sing for them immediately to like prove that you're good or that I know if you're listening, you know what I'm talking about. You're like, they like ask you what you do for a living. You're like, I'm a singer. And then they're like, well, sing right now. And you're like, I'm sorry, what? And they're like, do it. I literally had that happen to me once. I made a sketch of this on TikTok. I'm a little tired. I'm doing this late. So we're going to get the kind of crazy Sarah, which I hope you love. Although a couple episodes ago, it was so crazy that I was like, I can't even make out what I'm saying. So we're not going to be that unhinged. And I'm my third I saw for those last couple episodes where I was like, ooh, I can't be batching that much. Okay. I got ADD. I have to pause this and remember where I was going with all of this. I spun out like 5 different times. Wait, hold please. Oh, yes. The point, the sketch on TikTok. I made a sketch where, and this happened to me in real life. I was at a wedding. I was at my husband's cousin's wedding. And one of the distant relatives of one of the, I don't know if it's the bride or groom, was sitting there. And, I told him I was a singer. And he was so fucking aggressive. He was like, oh, you're a singer then. Sing right now for me. Sing right now. And I was like, what the fuck, bro? Like, I don't know you. We're at a wedding, sir. Like, I'm not just going to burst into song. Like, that is so fucking weird. That's such a weird ask. Well, you said you were a singer. A real singer would sing. Okay, how about go fuck yourself? What do you do, sir? What do you do for a living? I'm not going to demand that you do it right the fuck now to like prove to me that you actually do that thing. I digress. Anyway, I do teach singing down here, although it's done in a different capacity. So we're going to talk about that. And this is going to be a really great episode to send to your friends or loved ones that like secretly have just wanted to sing for so long. They have it on their heart. They've always wanted to sing, but they've really never given themselves the opportunity to do that. So, and I know I curse on here, so maybe some of you have parents that wouldn't really like listening to this. And so to that, sorry again for cursing so much, but I'm actually not. If they don't like me cursing, then you probably wouldn't vibe with me anyway. But this would be perfect for like your parents. Like I have so many students that they have parents that are like kind of shadow artists in which they might have really supported the student, but they themselves like actually do have a good voice, but they've never pursued it because it was always all about the kid, so it might be a good episode and a good listen to start to introduce people that like really love the idea of singing, or even specialize in another instrument. This will be really great for those musicians who are excellent at guitar. I have a few clients that are just like incredible guitarists, but like they feel like imposters around their voice. So that's what we're going to talk about. It's really prepping your system and getting ready to sing and knowing what to expect at a voice lesson and kind of all of the things that go with that. That's mainly the class that I typically teach, is this introduction to what it means to studying the voice and this deeper reflection and this deeper mirroring that we can experience as people when you start to do that activity. Now, before I launch into the episode, I gotta remind you, I gotta let you know, we have a wonderful sale going on and it's particularly great for beginner singers. So I want you to reflect. And again, if you're listening to this, you're probably a singer yourself, but I want you to reflect if you've been ever told that you were tone deaf or you've witnessed someone else being told they're tone deaf. Because that would have such a deep influence on feeling worthy to study the voice, right? It would probably, if I were to tell you in this moment then that if you were told you were tone deaf and that's actually probably not true scientifically, that would completely shift your idea of what was possible for you, right? Most people think that they can't sing on pitch when they actually can. You actually can learn to sing on pitch. True tone deafness, called amusia, only affects about 1% of the population. And here's the kicker. People who are truly amusic, which again is that medical term for being quote unquote tone deaf, people who are actually amusic don't even like music. Like that's one of the symptoms of being amusic. So if you have any desire to sing on your heart, your brain actually can physically learn how to sing on pitch if you've struggled with pitch. And that's why I made Pitchin' Musician after teaching hundreds of students and actually seeing with my very eyes that it is possible to get people to start matching pitch more consistently. Pitchin' Musician teaches you how to feel the pitch in your body with building pitch memory and training your brain to consistently sing the right notes. So it's not just about your ear, it's about that brain to physical connection. And we don't overwhelm you. We start with the easiest part of your voice so you can just think about pitch itself and focus in on that. No more guessing, no embarrassment, no being told. It's just out of the cards for you. This is never going to happen for you. Okay. And for a limited time, Pitchin' Musician is 30% off when you use code PITCH30 at checkout. If singing has always felt just out of reach, this is where it changes. And I just had to let you know that because this episode, we're really going to break down what to expect when you start voice lessons. This might be a 2-part series. We'll see if if it ends up being punchy enough or if I remember to split it up. But you know how that goes. We're like, oh, all of a sudden this is a 2-part series. So in this class, this unveiling your voice class, this getting comfortable starting to sing or starting to get familiar with the idea of singing, I want you to let me know if this sounds familiar to you. You have always loved singing, but you put singing on such a high pedestal that you just tell yourself you could never be a singer. Like you could literally never turn out like Tori Kelly, so you're not even going to try. Like you idolized Mariah Carey so heavily that you're like, well, if I can't sing like her, I'm not doing it at all. Okay. But then you're getting to a point in your life where you're like, you know what? YOLO, you only live once. I have always loved singing. I've never allowed myself to sing. But you know what? You're feeling like you're older in your life, right? The idea of learning something new feels so incredibly daunting. It feels like, how could I be a beginner at something, And then part of you is like, oh, it can't be that bad. It can't be that complicated, right? It should be pretty natural, but maybe I'm not naturally that good at it. So I wonder how long this will take me. And then you get overwhelmed and then, you feel embarrassed and you feel like, well, I can't even put myself in that position and be that vulnerable, like being in front of someone. Like, what if I sound bad? Like, what if that teacher doesn't even like me? Maybe there's a reason why I never tried to start to sing and it's probably best if I don't. Does that sound familiar? Does any part of that story sound familiar? Because that is a really common loop that people will put themselves in. They get overwhelmed with the idea of doing something new. They don't know what to expect. They feel really shy. They feel super vulnerable. And even though it's something that they know they would love, that would make them so, so, so happy, they never really give themselves the chance to pursue the opportunity, either because of that overwhelm or because they have decided that they will never amount to what they would want to be as a singer. So they just tell themselves it's just not even worth it. That is like a combination. I mean, the amount of people that have come in with some variation of that story is incredible and insane. And you know what the sad part is that most of these people actually had talent this whole time, and they've just never taken themselves seriously and given themselves the opportunity to actually put themselves first in this way and value something that they love in this way. And so when I teach this class here, and I've taught it other places as well, and when I come down to the jungle and I teach this, the first part is that I really love to speak to these shared experiences, to the overwhelm, to people that may really love singing. Like, who doesn't love singing, right? Just naturally. Everybody has a natural inclination towards singing because it's the most pure form of human expression, right? But I think so many people that are interested in singing, they really just never give themselves the opportunity to do it. And they look at people who do it and they live vicariously through them, or they admire them, or they're very harshly critical of them. I think that's sometimes where we get some trolls and people that, are couch surfing, and that's not right. Why? They're not couch surfing. They're keyboard surfing? They're keyboard warriors, whatever. They're harshly critical because they have played it safe and they have not decided to take a chance on themselves, right? Another type of person that I typically love to speak to at these classes, as we're introducing the singer to what to expect and almost giving them permission to be like, hey, like, you are allowed to be a beginner at something, is this feeling that you're just not any good, right? And so I love to speak to this, that I think as children, we have so much more forgiveness and permission to like be bad at something. But then suddenly as adults, when we like learn so many other skills and all of a sudden like we have to like, we're not like super experts at something anymore. It's just too damn humbling to like bring ourselves to try something or really own being bad at something. And if you think about the voice and just how vulnerable it is, like most people can't even stand the sound of their speaking voice, let alone their singing voice. And in fact, 8 times out of 10, when I have a student come in, they'll have something called like a singer accent, where they like even try to mask their sound to make it sound better, because at the core of it, they hate their speaking voice so much that if they were to sound too similar to how they speak in the way that they sing, they like couldn't bring themselves to do it. And it's always a process, like getting a new student, especially a beginner singer, who hates their speaking voice so much and has this like really light singer accent going on, because then they're confronted with the idea that, oh shit, you're going to teach me to really sound what I sound, and like that's based in speaking voice, and like that's what I'm going to sound like. I don't know if I'm down with that. I don't know if I want that to be the case. And so I love to speak to the fact that so many people hate their voices so much. And I like to say it's actually a mirror that is reflecting something in our internal world. When we hate the way that we sound, more often than not, I believe it's a reflection of like a piece of ourself that's broken off somehow and is being mirrored back to us. Like, oh, I sound too, like my voice is too low. That sounds like too masculine. And I hate that. Like, I want to sound feminine. And so you've rejected the aspect of yourself that has a low resonant voice. Or maybe it's the opposite. Oh, I sound so high and squeaky and I hate that. And it makes me sound weak. And I have rejected me sounding weak. So I hate that. I hate listening to that. That's not who I am, right? And really, the more that you can learn to accept and just be present with how you sound and work with what you have, that in its way is a step towards accepting yourself on a broader scope. Okay. So that's something else I love to talk about in these, like almost exposing the masses to what it means to be studying voice, right? The voice can hold so many stories. Stories that, maybe we were shut down as kids for speaking up with things that we really shouldn't have been saying. Maybe we were too loud. Maybe we were speaking truths that were supposed to be hidden. Maybe we were witnessing others that were singing poorly, and then we became ashamed of them. Like everybody remembers American Idol and how humiliating it was for those people if they weren't very good, and how they would be mocked, right? So you had like this indirect shaming that could happen. You could watch someone being directly shamed by a family member or a friend, someone making fun of someone. And it can be really hard as a kid, even though we're born as children singing freely. I mean, like, how many kids do you know sing freely and effortlessly and, don't think about it? Like music is such a large part of children's education and growing up and singing and being in joy and presence like that. And then as we grow up and we witness this shame either being directly inflicted on us or we're witnessing it on somebody else, it starts to block our ability or our claim to continue doing this thing that we love. And, you get shut down enough, you're not going to want to actually pursue something, even if, your whole life you've really loved singing. And just if that sounds anything like anyone you love, or it has any remnants in your experience, I just wanted to share those things and that's what I do in these classes of claiming your voice and getting familiar with what it takes to start to sing. Because what happens when you start to sing is you start to say, hey, this matters. And hey, like, I actually do deserve to learn something that brings me joy. And I actually don't have to be perfect at it right away. And even if you're a beginner singer, like you were someone that needs pitch and musician, right? When I made that for the people who came to me and they're like, you know what, fuck it. Like, I've always wanted to learn to do this. Like, I know I'm like not the best right now, but apparently if you practice and you put your mind to anything, you should be able to improve at anything, right? So teach me to do this. And like this whole course was developed really keeping those people in mind and really having to walk step by step and like figure out how to help them. Because that's the other thing is like these beginner singers or people that really love music, they're told they're crummy singers and that they can't match pitch. And then they're like, oh, I guess it's just not in the cards for me. But like deep down, they like secretly want to be able to do that. Because again, like I believe singing is like a natural human right, a joyful right to express yourself, right? And so that's why Pitch and Musician came about, because there were these multiple people that came to me that I was like, well, you're here in front of me right now. I have to figure out a way to teach you to do this. And using intuition, actually, when I first started, was how I came up with this method. And then we did research with the brain and kind of understood like, and it was validated by people who had studied this as well at nauseum at higher levels of education when I went to the World Teacher Conference and I lectured on this. And that was super validating that they were like, yep, that's the research we have, Sarah. That's it on pitch in the brain. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So it really is based in neuroscience, this process, but that sometimes can like, when you hear that this product exists and that it was based in real evidence, like if you go to the Pitch and Musician website, you can see when you do the correct kind of work and exercise, like it really does work. Like there really isn't such thing as tone deafness if someone especially has the desire to sing. But if you were told this your whole life, that you can't sing on pitch and you're a crappy singer your whole life and you're just too scared and you don't want to be humiliated, why would you, unless you were just like, fuck it, life's too short, I'm going to do it. Why would you pursue that if you've identified with the story and it's kept you kind of locked up in this narrative, right? So I love to, again, start this out with like, hey, if any of these things sound familiar to you, that's super valid. And if you're skeptical, if you are a beginner singer and you need help with pitch and you're skeptical about your ability to sing on pitch, I'm telling you, it is possible. And please check out that Pitch and Musician sale while it's on. We only do a sale on this once a year, and it takes over $100 off. It's pretty awesome. I will list one other group of people that I love to speak to when I'm doing this intro to like, what does it mean to take voice lessons and what do we do in this first section here. Another group of people that I love to speak to are those that were actually born pretty naturally gifted singers, but their whole identity circles around the fact that they were naturally gifted with it. And there's this idea that then if they were to take it seriously and study it and get better at it, well, then that takes away their ego pride that, well, I don't need voice lessons. This is all natural, right? It takes that story away from them. And I think it almost makes them feel fearful that if they aren't just this natural talent and they start to study and maybe they don't get any better, like, you know, maybe that will take away their pride around their voice, or, you know, maybe they'll take voice lessons and then that will hurt their voice and then they won't sing the same and they'll lose their sound. But what ends up happening is like sometimes people are born really brilliant and then they have these careers and they are very naturally talented. But then when they become like a professional singer and they become a vocal athlete, well, then they're on tour and they're traveling and they're using their voice a lot and they don't have the foundation and they're burning themselves out and they're using their voice really inefficiently. And then they could end up damaging and ruining their voices. So if you're afraid of taking voice lessons because it's just new and different and you don't know what to expect and you're afraid of it taking that, oh, I'm naturally gifted and I don't really need voice lessons and I'm afraid that maybe I'll learn that I'm not that good to begin with and you know, I'm just clinging on to this thing, that will be revealed. And if it's stopping you from getting better, I just want to speak to that and say, hey, it's really important, if you have natural talent, to learn how to use the instrument so that you can preserve the instrument for the rest of your life and you don't blow it out by just because you're afraid. And you can always find a teacher that jives with you. You don't have to just go to any Sally Sandez, you know what I mean? You can go to someone that makes sense to you. You can find a good teacher, especially nowadays with everything online. So that's one of I just love to speak to the different kinds of people that have been really afraid of taking themselves seriously, whether they're, a parent that maybe was naturally gifted at music, but then, their child became really good at it. And so then they decided to support them, or whether, it's someone that's, just really loved to sing and maybe they were good at it, but they were never that good at it. And so they wouldn't let themselves really get better. Or they were afraid of taking voice lessons because it would take away their pride and they were fearful that they could trust someone. All of those things are really important to mention when speaking to a group of people you've never seen before about the idea of singing, because teaching singing is kind of weird, right? Everybody has these ideas that you're just born naturally able to do it, right? Especially with pitch, as I just mentioned, even though I just proved that studies show that you don't have to just be born with pitch. You can learn how to do it. It's just a different kind of brain training. But a lot of people just think it's the Kelly Clarkson of it all. We hear this just one naturally gifted singer, and then, it's just such a mysterious thing. What are voice lessons? If Kelly Clarkson can just go on stage and just sing like that, well, then that means everybody just must be able to sing like that. And you rarely see actual proof of people improving if you're not in a music conservatory or something, or you've never done it before. If you're just an average person, yeah, it sounds like a weird thing. How could someone get better at that? What does that mean to get better at? So speaking to the circumstances and the people that kind of stop themselves from seeking that additional education is a really important part of that. And if any of those things that I just mentioned, if I even touched base on it even a little bit, just know that you have a right to learn to sing just as much as anybody else, okay? And it doesn't matter your level. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner, and it doesn't matter where you do it. It doesn't matter if the only place that you can sing right now is at your church or your community theater. That's where most people get to enjoy music, and it actually can be the most deeply impactful on your community and from person to person. My most impactful theatrical experiences were not the professional ones. I'm going to be honest. I mean, the one where I got engaged was pretty great. The Tick, Tick, Boom story. I'll have to tell that story sometime. So that was a very impactful experience. But other than that, my most memorable theatrical experiences, the most life-changing ones, were at the community level with teachers in high school, or with, the studio I grew up at, or the summer theater program that I did. And so if you're someone that has an opportunity to take part in community art at some level, I just want to say, and maybe you're afraid to start doing it, but you always have wanted to, this is your sign to let yourself start doing it in some capacity. And it doesn't matter if you're a beginner, if you're, you can carry a tune, but it's just been a long time, or maybe you're a pretty naturally good singer, but you just feel overwhelmed and you don't want to get confused or feel like it's out of your control. I just want you to take this as a sign in this first part here that we're breaking down the experience of people who just do not feel like they can pull the trigger on taking voice lessons yet. I want you to take this as your sign that it is meant for you. And that if you've been thinking about it, just fucking do it. Just fucking pull the trigger and just allow yourself to do something that you love for once. I mean, so many of you put so many other people in front of you, especially if you're a parent and you're supporting a child who is talented and does all this stuff. This is your opportunity to do something that makes you happy. And listen, I know some of you all are like, that would scare the shit out of me. I don't want to be on stage. There are many different ways you could do it. Even joining your church choir or doing something like that. A community choir. You don't have to sing by yourself, but just reminding everybody of the love that you used to have as a child? Just think about that for a second. What was a song that you used to get so connected to as a child? I call it a soul song, and this is part of the class that I teach too, is like once we kind of call out who is the person that you're avoiding singing for various reasons, then it's about recalling, hey, like, oh yeah, I do recall this is something that I used to love to do. This made me so happy at one point. What was your soul song? I want you to reflect on that. Mine was Part of Your World. I have a vivid memory of me sitting on the floor of my childhood bedroom when I mean, someone must have been home, but I didn't think that they could hear me. And I was by myself in my room, and I just prayed to God, like, I wish that I could be a singer, and I would sing Part of Your World and like imagine that I was a professional singer, and no one had ever heard me sing before. But that song, no matter what, it represents like wanting so badly to embody this element of my soul, right? That's why it's a soul song. So like, what was your soul song? Like a lot of millennials, I think it's also part of your world. But just think about it. I want to leave you with this. What was a song that you just loved as a child? That if you knew that if you would give yourself the opportunity to try to sing, it would just make you so, so happy. And it connects, it has its roots deep in you somewhere, just at a fundamental level. What is that song for you? And I want you to, the takeaway from today's episode lesson, oh my God, what's kind of a lesson? The takeaway from today is to let yourself sing that soul song and just experience what it makes you feel. Maybe it'll bring up a little bit of grief that you really never took a chance on studying. Maybe it'll light a fire under your ass and be like, hey, you know what? I am going to do something for myself. I am going to do something that I love. And I am going to take a class, or I'm going to join Sarah's email list and figure out when group lessons are. I am going to get pillars. Maybe you're a beginner singer and you're like, hey, this bitch is talking about I'm really not tone deaf. Oh my God, my whole life I was so afraid and so embarrassed. If I really can learn, like I'm going to pull that trigger. I'm going to take advantage of that pitch and musician sale. Sign me up. Like, just sing the soul song and reflect how it makes you feel in your body. Maybe it just makes you connect with a childlike joy that makes you feel this refreshed sense of love. Because when was the last time you sang that song? Like, just let yourself experience that nostalgia and that reminiscence, and give yourself a little bit of love in that moment. And in part 2 that I'm going to do here right after this, but you'll have to wait until the next episode is released, we're going to then talk about if you've never really given yourself the opportunity to take a voice lesson. And it doesn't matter if you've sung for a long time, you've never just taken a private lesson before or done any kind of actual work on your voice, or maybe, you're afraid and you don't know what to expect. We're going to kind of break down how to prep your system to be able to handle voice lessons, and kind of what to expect, and how to also, get the most out of the lesson. So that's what we're going to do in part 2. And again, in this series, this is all about prepping the average Joe, anyone that might not be completely in the singing world, how to get them to understand how vocal training works, and at least get them ready to be able to do that. So I hope you felt seen in this episode, or if you thought of somebody that you know that has always loved singing, or you think has always loved singing, or that you love and actually secretly has a good voice, or maybe just loves to sing and maybe needs a little bit of help with pitch, let those folks know about the pitch and musician sale. Or even if it's someone that's just has the talent but lacks the confidence and really just keeps telling themselves they can't sing, even though you can hear it and you think they have a good voice, send them this episode and send it to them being like, I see you. I see your love for music. Take a chance on yourself, right? This is your sign. It's time for you to really commit to something you love. And with that note, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I don't know if you can hear the crickets outside, but it's quite a vibe in here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I really hope you get a chance to sing your soul song and connect with that little inner child that just loved singing. All right, I love you guys. I'll talk to you next time. Bye. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. This helps me get this information out to more artists all over the world. Let's work together to spread the joys of music. Until next time, I'm your host, Sarah Bishop, signing off from the Singer's Path podcast. Thanks for listening.